It was July 12, 1975, at the Richmond Coliseum, in front of 8,200 roaring fans. A sickly 12-year-old girl had one final wish: to feel Elvis Presley's presence. No one expected the king to stop mid-song, lift her onto the stage, and give a kiss that would haunt the audience forever. The Richmond Coliseum pulsed with electricity, light slicing through a haze of purple smoke as the crowd chanted, clapped, and stamped in unison. Scarves twirled overhead. Homemade signs bobbed like flags. Elvis forever, King of Hearts, we love you. Elvis. The band ran final checks, guitars humming, drums tapping, amplifiers buzzing with anticipation. In the middle of the audience, Susan Miller, just 12 years old, sat in her wheelchair, frail but wide-eyed. Her hospital bracelet caught the light, a small glimmer against her pale wrist. Beside her, her father, Frank Miller, fidgeted, whispering encouragement. Security Chief Paul Keller scanned the crowd nervously, while tour manager Jerry Thompson exchanged brief glances with the stage crew. The murmurs of thousands collided with the faint tuning of the orchestra, creating a living tension. The opening chords of Hound Dog hit, and the arena seemed to inhale as one. Fans leaned forward, voices rising in song and exclamation, a tidal wave of devotion and anticipation. Susan's small, trembling hand rose above the crowd, clutching at the air, hoping, wishing for a miracle. The lights reflected off the sequins on Elvis's jumpsuit, creating a constellation across the stage, a visual heartbeat that matched the collective excitement. Reflective question: have you ever been in a place where the world seems alive around you, yet you feel unseen, almost invisible, waiting for someone to notice? The crowd surged with energy, a single organism of voices and motion. And yet, among the noise, a fragile hope lingered in one corner. Susan's hand, reaching, waiting. It was almost imperceptible, a tiny ripple in a sea of movement, but it would not go unnoticed for long. Who would notice the girl among thousands? Midway through Love Me Tender, the arena's roar softened to a murmur, blending with the warm hum of strings. Susan leaned closer to her father, her small voice almost lost beneath the collective chorus of fans. I just want to see him. Up close, Frank Miller's hand gripped hers tighter, a silent promise that he would do everything possible to make it happen. Security Chief Paul Keller scanned the aisles again, tension etched across his face. A child on stage was strictly forbidden, yet something in Jerry Thompson's eyes suggested a possibility. Elvis's voice softened mid, a glance catching the shimmer of a hospital bracelet through the crowd. The king paused, the microphone quivering slightly in his hand. His gaze swept across 8,200 faces, searching for a story that might interrupt the music. The band faltered, sensing the shift. The pulse of anticipation thickened like syrup in the warm summer air. Fans leaned in instinctively, sensing a pivotal moment forming. The arena seemed to stretch, time itself slowing under the weight of expectation. Reflective question: when do you decide to take a risk that could change someone's life forever? Have you ever hesitated at the moment that demanded courage? Then, impossibly, Elvis pointed toward Susan. The crowd stilled in disbelief. Murmurs became gasps. Some clutched their chests, unable to process what was unfolding. Cameras clicked rapidly, capturing fleeting images of disbelief and hope intertwined. Jerry Thompson whispered urgently to Paul Keller, "It's now or never," while the security chief hesitated, caught between protocol and the unmistakable pull of compassion. The stage lights dimmed briefly, creating a golden halo over the king, framing a moment suspended in anticipation. The murmurs intensified as Susan's father leaned down, whispering reassurance. Other fans craned their necks, trying to catch a glimpse of the fragile girl about to step into history. Every eye, every heartbeat in the arena turned toward that singular point of possibility, the tension stretching so taut it seemed to hum audibly. The king's gesture, simple and profound, radiated through the crowd, cutting through the noise like a beam of light in a darkened hall. Reflective question: could you, in the face of rules and expectation, choose humanity over procedure? What would you risk to grant a single wish that matters more than protocol? The audience collectively held its breath as Elvis began to descend toward the front, each step deliberate, each movement observed by thousands. The arena went almost dead silent, anticipation pressing against the walls, the ceiling, the very air. For the first time, Susan's small hand felt the pull of possibility, reaching beyond hope into reality. Would he actually come down and fulfill her final wish? The arena vibrated with an energy that balanced on the edge of disbelief and awe. Security murmured urgently, a chain of whispers stretching along the aisles. Is this safe? Can we let her? Paul Keller's eyes flicked from Jerry Thompson to the king, weighing protocol against the pulse of the moment. Fans felt the tension ripple through them, a collective heartbeat tightening with suspense. Cameras clicked in rapid succession, capturing the unfolding scene, while Linda Carver, the press photographer in the front row, leaned forward, her lens framing a story that would travel decades. Every fan in the front rows leaned toward the stage, craning to see the frail figure at the center of attention. Susan Miller's fingers trembled as she reached out instinctively, hope shining in her wide, luminous eyes. The king, towering yet approachable, extended a hand with deliberate grace. Every muscle in the arena seemed to pause, waiting for the contact that could transform the night from ordinary performance to legend. Reflective question: have you ever watched someone choose compassion over rules, witnessing humanity bend time and space for a fleeting, precious moment? The murmurs of the crowd grew into soft chants, names and exclamations blending into a harmony of anticipation. A fan near the aisle whispered to another, "She's going to meet him. I can feel it." The arena went dead silent for a heartbeat, then erupted into gasps as Elvis's hand reached closer to Susan. Security hesitated. Some gripped railings as if bracing for impact, yet the mood was electric rather than chaotic. The tension was a tangible wave, pressing against the walls, the ceiling, the very floorboards beneath thousands of feet. Susan's father, Frank Miller, could barely keep his composure. He leaned close, murmuring words that were half encouragement, half prayer, gripping her small hand and willing it to find strength. Her other hand brushed against her hospital bracelet, a symbol of fragility amidst overwhelming force. Around them, the crowd became participants, each fan holding their breath, collectively understanding the gravity of what was unfolding. The soft strumming of the guitar underscored the moment, a delicate soundtrack contrasting with the roaring anticipation. Then, with a patience that seemed eternal yet impossibly brief, Elvis's hand clasped Susan's, trembling fingers intertwined with the king's, a fragile connection bridging ordinary life and legend. Gasps, whispers of legendary, and soft cries of awe rose from the audience like a tide. The arena held its collective breath, caught in the cusp between reality and myth. Reflective question: could a single, compassionate act change not just one life, but everyone who witnesses it? The king's gaze met Susan's, a gentle acknowledgement of her courage, her hope, her unspoken wish. The crowd leaned in, silent yet fully present, feeling the weight and warmth of the moment. Every fan, from the nosebleeds to the front row, became part of the story. A witness to a decision that defied expectation, a choice that honored humanity above rules. The orchestra's strings swelled, synchronizing with the surge of emotion, and the arena seemed to vibrate with shared wonder. Could a single moment on stage redefine the night and the lives of everyone in attendance forever? Elvis lifted Susan onto the stage with effortless grace, cradling her small frame as the orchestra's chords shifted into a tender, golden hum. The audience leaned forward, every pair of eyes fixed on the fragile girl in the king's arms. Heartbeats synchronized with the soft percussion, lights softened into warm gold, and for a moment, the arena seemed to hold its collective breath. The fragility of Susan against the towering figure of Elvis created a tableau of vulnerability and strength. Humanity and legend entwined in a single, unspoken rhythm. The king paused, tilting his head slightly, as if to measure the weight of the moment. Susan's eyes sparkled with a mixture of awe, disbelief, and pure joy. The crowd, thousands strong, was almost dead silent, their voices suspended between anticipation and reverence. Then, with a gentle, deliberate motion, Elvis bent forward and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. Short bursts of narration punctuate the scene, dead silent. What happened next? A hush that wrapped around everyone. The simplicity of the act the kindness sent ripples through the Colosseum, touching every spectator, every heart, every memory. Cameras flashed relentlessly, capturing the moment in fragmented glimpses of light and shadow. Linda Carver, front row press photographer, clicked in a rhythm that matched the rise and fall of the audience's collective breath. Fans murmured, whispered, gasped. Some clutched scarves, others held hands over their mouths, unable to process the intimacy of the moment. Reflective question: when faced with a fleeting chance to give someone exactly what they've been longing for, do you hesitate or do you act? Susan's father, Frank Miller, wept quietly at the edge of the stage, overwhelmed by relief and awe. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, barely daring to touch the miracle unfolding before him. The king's embrace was brief, yet it held the weight of eternity, a gesture that would outlast the night, the concert, even decades. Strings swelled in the background, soft and undulating, creating an emotional tide that carried the audience with it. The arena erupted into an understated but powerful wave of applause, as though the audience itself understood that what had just occurred transcended performance. Every fan present felt the significance, the sacredness of a choice that placed humanity above spectacle. Short sentences punctuate the action in bursts, dead silent. What happened next? A hush that wrapped around everyone. The visual and emotional contrast, the hush before ovation. The vulnerability of Susan against the iconic presence of Elvis made the scene unforgettable, etched into memory like a photograph in motion. Elvis handed her back to her father, allowing her to catch her breath, then waved to the audience with a modest smile that belied the monumental significance of his act. Fans rose to their feet, a mixture of cheers, tears, and astonished laughter filling the air. The transformation was immediate. What began as a wish had become a shared experience, a collective moment of compassion that every individual present would carry home, forever altered. How do you measure a miracle on a concert stage when time itself seems to bend for one small act of compassion? The applause erupted like a tide, swelling through the Richmond Coliseum in waves that lifted hearts and spirits alike. Fans chanted Susan's name, some weeping quietly, others shouting with unrestrained joy. The king, usually a figure untouchable and larger than life, allowed the moment to breathe, inviting the audience to share in it. Tour manager Jerry Thompson approached with a signed scarf, handing it to Susan with a gentle smile. The simple gift a tangible acknowledgement became a symbol of the connection between celebrity and humanity. Susan's father, Frank Miller, lifted her carefully from the stage, holding her close as the crowd parted in a corridor of communal celebration. Every step was met with cheers, applause, and the hum of voices praising not only Elvis, but the courage of a small girl whose wish had become a reality. The arena, once a space of performance and spectacle, transformed into a cathedral of shared hope, where each attendee became part of a collective act of witness. Fans embraced one another in the aisles. Strangers united in the singular awareness of having witnessed something extraordinary. Camera flashes captured the mingling of joy, relief, and reverence, freezing moments that would echo in memories for decades. Reflective question: have you ever been part of a community rallying around a single act of kindness, where everyone's heart beats in unison for one shared purpose? Elvis moved among the front rows briefly, shaking hands, offering a nod here, a smile there. It was as if the stage had become an intimate living room, and every person present a friend invited into a sacred ritual. The aura of legend intertwined seamlessly with compassion, leaving the audience suspended in awe. Even the security team, initially rigid with rules and concern, softened, allowing the moment to unfold without interference. The night stretched on, yet the intensity remained. Fans whispered stories to one another, some recounting previous shows, others replaying the miracle that had just occurred. Susan held the scarf to her chest, her eyes wide, sparkling with a mixture of disbelief and happiness. Her small hands trembled as she whispered thanks to the king, who responded with a quiet nod, a shared acknowledgement of the magic they had created together. Strings and soft guitar notes from the orchestra underscored the emotional resonance, filling the pauses with warmth. The arena itself seemed to vibrate with transformation, its walls echoing not only music, but a collective shift in perception. What had begun as a fragile wish now belonged to everyone present, stitched into the fabric of memory, a beacon of hope and empathy. The night had become more than a performance. It was a testament to what can happen when compassion overtakes routine, and courage meets kindness. Would Susan remember this as a fleeting wish, or as a moment that would define the rest of her life? The next morning, Richmond awoke to headlines that captured the wonder of the night. Richmond miracle, Elvis grants girl's final wish. Newspapers displayed Susan Miller's smiling face, her hospital bracelet faintly visible, a testament to the fragility and courage that had defined the previous evening. Bootleg recordings circulated among fans, their grainy visuals preserving flashes of the king lifting the girl onto the stage. A moment now immortalized in both sound and image. Backstage, the Coliseum crew hung a small plaque in honor of Susan, engraved simply, "For Susan Miller, whose courage inspired us all." The gesture became a symbolic cornerstone, a reminder to anyone who passed that kindness could shape memory and legend alike. Fans discussed the event in hushed tones and excited whispers, the story traveling beyond Richmond to fan clubs nationwide. It was not just a concert. It was a shared cultural memory, a point of connection between the famous and the ordinary, the legendary and the human. Elvis' act rippled far beyond the arena walls. Journalists and photographers shared anecdotes that framed him not only as a performer, but as someone who could bend time and expectation for a single act of compassion. Reflective question: could one act of kindness echo across generations, teaching that even the smallest gestures hold infinite power? Susan's photograph adorned memorabilia, while the signed scarf became a cherished artifact, a tangible proof of a night when the extraordinary touched the everyday. In fan forums and letters sent to the tour office, attendees recalled not just the music but the pause, the hush, and the kiss. Every retelling reinforced the magnitude of the moment, highlighting the fragile girl who had inspired courage in both the king and the thousands who witnessed her wish. Even decades later, discussions of that night carried a sense of awe, as if time itself had shifted in those few minutes on the Richmond stage. The arena, once a space of routine performances, now held stories that transcended concerts. Plaques, memorabilia, photographs, and first-hand recollections became vessels of memory, linking generations to a shared human experience. The night was more than a single wish fulfilled. It was a testament to how empathy and courage could ripple outward, shaping lives, conversations, and dreams long after the lights dimmed. Could one act of kindness truly echo across generations, altering the way we remember both a person and a place forever? Elvis Presley's act on July 12, 1975, was more than a moment of celebrity generosity, was a lesson in humanity. In the midst of fame, lights, and roaring fans, he paused for one small, fragile girl. That pause, brief yet monumental, demonstrated that empathy could triumph over protocol, that a single choice could ripple through time and memory. Every fan in the Richmond Coliseum carried that lesson home. Reflective question: when given the chance to change a life, do you act or hesitate? The moral resonates because the king's decision was not about publicity or performance, it was about recognition, validation, and the courage to place compassion above expectation. Susan Miller's wish was simple, yet its fulfillment transformed not only her life but the collective consciousness of thousands in the years that followed. Stories of the Richmond show circulated in print, on fan forums, and through oral history. Children would hear the tale of a legendary performer granting a fragile girl's last wish. Photographs, press clippings, and memorabilia preserved, a memory that was as tangible as it was emotional. Every time the story was retold, it reinforced a truth: small, human gestures, whether by a king of rock or an ordinary person, could create monumental ripples, inspiring hope and courage. The arena, the plaque, the signed scarf, and the photographs became more than objects. They were markers of a moment when compassion overshadowed spectacle, leaving an indelible imprint. The narrative closed not with the end of a show, but with the eternal echo of a lesson: kindness matters, courage matters, and the choices we make can change the world one act at a time. Share this story with someone who believes in the power of small acts. Reflect on a moment when compassion reshaped a life your own or someone else's, and consider how one courageous choice can ripple outward, leaving a legacy that lasts far longer than the spotlight.